Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good day, morning, week, afternoon, whatever. I know week doesn't really go with day or morning or night or whatever. But anyways, hope you're having a good one. We have a lot to talk about. Some big names on today's show, big cases that a lot of y'all follow, including the fact that Gypsy Rose has announced today that she is pregnant, some stuff on Mica Miller. And I say Mica Miller, but it's more stuff surrounding the saga going on with Solid Rock. Aubrey Wyatt, which this case, the more I learn about it, the more passionate I get. Caleb Harris, and then there's a couple other things that we're going to talk about. So, but before we do, I have to pay the bills, right? So, as always, I'm going to talk about the books real quick. So, a lot of y'all know, most of y'all should know by now, that I have written 2 books. Like, let me go ahead and scroll at the bottom of this thing where you can kind of know where to get it. If you don't know, by the way, you can get it on the TikTok shop or through the link in my bio, JustIn.TikTok.com. But the first book is called Boundaries. If you want to teach your children about boundaries, if you are one of the 26% of millennials and Gen Z that are no contact with a family member, it's actually more than that. 26% is really just parents. But you know what I'm saying. This is a way to explain to your kids why you're no contact, limited contact in a way that's easy for them to understand, easy for them to digest, that doesn't vilify that person, and teaches your kids wonderful skills like how to look out for conditional relationships and things like that. And of course, boundaries, which were something that most of us when we were kids weren't allowed to have. The next book, of course, is Surprises Are Okay, Secrets Are Not. And this comes from cases like when I usually talk about these things, cases like Madeline Soto, Audrey Cunningham, and now, unfortunately, I can add Aubrey's name to this list, except although I think she did some things very correct, and we'll talk about that, but it's still one of those things. This book is designed to help give kids the skill set to stand up for themselves, use their voice, know that a trusted adult will believe them, and to learn that an adult especially should not be asking kids to keep secrets. Surprises have end dates, secrets don't. And you can get both of these as a bundle and hardcover or softcover signed, or as individual books, again, through TikTok shop or through the link in my bio. Please, for the love of God, I have so many copies and my wife is yelling at me to get them out of the house. Please go buy some. The hardcover bundle is on sale on JustIn.TikTok.com still, because I never took it off sale. Anyways, last thing I'm going to say about all of this is if you are new here to YouTube, and I'll say this for those of y'all who are watching on TikTok, if you are new here and watching this, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe is the same on YouTube as a follow on TikTok. They mean the same thing. So go on and do that. It's a free thing that you can do to help support the content, and it would mean a great deal to me. So without further ado, let's get into this. So this picture up here that I'm showing first, I did a video on this just before Gypsy Rose. Okay. And I want to talk about the story, and it's a controversial story. And I want you guys to, whether you're watching it now and in the chat, or if you are watching this later, to give me your opinion. So this picture is of, on the left is of Hamish Cooper, and on the right is Antonia Cooper. So apparently back in 1981, when Hamish was 7 years old, let me back up a little bit further. Well, no, we'll do that. Hamish died in 1981, 7 years old, and his mother is the one who took his life. She gave him a lethal dose of morphine that ended his life. But there's a caveat to this. And do you think that this mom, after hearing this, should be investigated and charged? So basically what happened was last week, Antonia Cooper was giving an interview and for the first time publicly admitted that she is the reason for her son's death, ultimately. What happened is that Hamish, when he was 5 years old, was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, a type of cancer. And he was given 3 months to live. However, after 16 months of undergoing therapy and treatment, he was still with us. However, he was in intense, excruciating pain and suffering. So one night, while he was suffering, she asked him, "Do you want me to end the pain?" And he said yes. She believes that he understood exactly what she meant, and she gave him a dose of morphine that ended his life. Again, he had stage 4 cancer. Neuroblastoma. He had already gone far past, and there was going to be no improvement. So basically, this happened a week ago where she admits all of this. And because of this, the police opened an investigation on her. They haven't commented or anything like that. But then what she told the radio station was that she is also getting toward the end of her life, that she is terminally ill, and that if they want to move and putting charges to her, she's fine with that. And that, so I got a text, got interrupting real quick, that she was fine with that, but they need to move quickly. Well, I learned today that apparently yesterday or last night, Antonia Cooper passed away. But still doesn't change the discussion. You know, as Antonia said on her interview, we allow dogs and animals to not have to suffer and go through this and go through euthanasia. Why should it be different for people? And I would imagine as a parent, I can't speak for this woman, but having literally a week ago today gone through making this decision for my own animal, which was just incredibly difficult. I can't imagine as a parent what it was to go through that and shatter her heart in a million pieces to end her child's suffering. But I'd be very interested to know what you guys think. So definitely drop that in the comments. But it was a story that I was unaware of, and I wanted to bring it to y'all's attention as well. So next I want to talk about Caleb Harris. And I want to talk about Caleb Harris for a couple reasons. The first one is in the Find Caleb Harris group, and I did mention this briefly yesterday on my way out of the show yesterday, but I want to mention it here, and then we'll talk about a couple other things that I want to make sure that we clarify. But on the Find Caleb Harris Facebook group, somebody said that they had just watched my YouTube video, the last one, where I dropped a pretty big bombshell about a Reddit account. Now, I'm not going to do that again on any social media platform. If you want to go see that, go back and find the last video I did about Caleb Harris prior to this one, and you'll see what that is. I wanted to mention it once because I went against something that I normally don't do, which is it was something that I was aware of that I was asked not to talk about. And the only time I ever plan on doing this or have done this is for this particular situation, because I felt that it was for the benefit of the Corpus Christi community. And if you listen to it, you'll know what that is, but that's all I'm going to say to that. Now, because of this and in that particular episode, somebody said that I said that JustIn on TikTok said that those remains that were found were Caleb's. And I never said that. I said that I would be surprised if they end up not being Caleb's. I'd be surprised if it's not Caleb, but I've not made any confirmation on that. I want to make sure that I make that crystal clear, abundantly clear. They said it could take up to 6 weeks to get the DNA results back. At this point, we're probably about 5-ish weeks. But let me give y'all just a brief recap. This is going to be a real short talk track on this one. But Caleb, for those of y'all who don't know, he was a 21-year-old Texas A&M University Corpus Christi student, and he has been missing since March 4th. He was last seen around 3 a.m. near his apartment complex close to University campus. Now, according to Caleb's dad, Caleb left behind his ID and car keys, and by 3 o'clock that same morning, Caleb's phone was dead. Now, Randy Harris told local media he was totally gone. He doesn't have his wallet. He doesn't have any identification on him. Then, on June 24th, which is nearly 4 months-ish after Caleb's disappearance, a city employee made a very grim discovery, which were human remains found in a 40-foot deep wastewater collection point, which is very close to Caleb's apartment. Now, the ME's office, medical examiner's office, examined the remains, but couldn't identify them or determine the cause of death. And it's because the decomposition was just so bad after being in, wastewater for 4 months. Just we'll leave it at that. The remains have been sent to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification for DNA analysis, and that could take weeks. But there is a bit of a new development on this case, one that is different from, this just happened 24 hours ago. So in response to these recent developments, the Uvalde Foundation for Kids, which, by the way, was set up after the tragic, horrific Uvalde massacre, has joined the search efforts. They're assembling volunteer teams from Dallas, San Antonio, and Bell County to aid in the ongoing search for Caleb. James Earl, who is the team director, emphasized the importance of continuing the search, stating, "Now is not the time to end the search for this young man. If anything, it should give us renewed hope, and persistence and dedication can bring answers, even those we do not wish to hear." So as we await the results of the DNA analysis, which we should hopefully get back in another roughly 5-ish weeks, please, just as always, anybody who has any information about Caleb Harris's disappearance, you are urged to contact the Corpus Christi Police Department This case does remain active, and for the community's involvement could be crucial in finding answers as to what happened for Caleb. So there is going to be more information, but one thing that I have to say when we talk about cases like Caleb or Sebastian Rogers, or, I know we're still waiting on some answers for Riley Strain and with Mica Miller, I oftentimes on a daily basis will get like, are there any updates? Are there any updates? Are there any updates? If there are any updates that are worth updating, I will definitely come on and let you know. But unfortunately, the more time that goes on in these cases, the less updates we have. And I don't get into the whole speculation and going back and forth on rumors kind of a thing. So just a heads up on that, but we will always keep updated when we need to, and, keep updated. So that being said, let's move on to this case, because this case has me enraged. Okay. And the girl that you're looking at was 13-year-old Aubrey Wyatt. And in the seat next to her is her mother, Heather Wyatt. And this story hits close to home for me because as a kid, I was relentlessly bullied. And yes, we did speak about this case yesterday, but now I have even more information. That said, we need to talk about the Aubrey Wyatt case, and I need you guys to listen, and I need you guys to get fired up and even enraged, because Aubrey could be any one of our kids, and the situation surrounding Aubrey's death is getting messier by the minute. But in case you missed it yesterday, let me just break it down for you. Aubrey Wyatt was a 13-year-old girl who tragically took her own life after allegedly being bullied relentlessly. As someone who has been a victim of bullying myself, this story really does strike a chord. I know firsthand how devastating that kind of treatment can be. I also know firsthand that when you are 13, 14, 15, younger, or even a little bit older, all you know is school. When you're 13, I can sit here now and say to a 13-year-old, hey, in 5 years, your entire life will be completely different. None of this will matter. But for somebody like Aubrey, for any 13-year-old, 5 years is less than a third of their is more than a third of their life, or less than a third of their life. There we go. But you don't remember things until you're about 4 or 5 years old. So it's really like half their life. So their concept of time isn't being able to see through the future. So I'm just saying it makes it very troubling and even more difficult, even more important to pay attention. Now, from my understanding, the teachers, the assistant principal, the principal, and even the assistant superintendent, Monty Noblet, was told about this. The assistant superintendent where Aubrey went to school, the same superintendent that was supposedly made aware of Audrey's situation, has done absolutely nothing. Now, let me repeat this real quick. Let me go back into this. Let me show a picture of him. Because I want y'all to see this guy. Now, here's something that needs to be addressed, because there's a lot of speculation swirling around this case. Now, supposedly the father of one of the girls accused of bullying Aubrey is none other than that Monty Noblet, that same assistant superintendent that was over the school that Aubrey went to. The same superintendent that was made aware of Aubrey's situation. The same one, again, that did absolutely nothing. Now, Monty is supposedly the father of one of the girls accused of bullying Aubrey. And I will repeat that in a different way. Supposedly the dad of the bullies is the superintendent of the school system. Somebody says I'm pronouncing it Noblet. Thank you. I need to pronounce it right. So now, as I understand, Aubrey's parents tried to bring the bullying to the school board's attention, but supposedly nothing happened. There are claims of conflict of interest. With Noblet and the superintendent allegedly having a lot of pull in the school system, and even a little bit further outside of the school system. But here's where it gets even more troubling. This same girl, the daughter of this superintendent, allegedly, supposedly, because I don't want to get sued, but it's been reported that this one girl is allegedly still posting negative things and talking trash about Aubrey on social media. And if that's true, it's just heartbreaking, because Aubrey isn't here to defend herself, and making fun of a dead child, one who you bully to death, is just plain sociopathic. On top of that, not one of the parents or kids associated with this have come out and even told Aubrey's mom even the simplest thing, which is, I'm sorry for your loss. But instead, what they've done, instead of addressing these allegations, These parents have now, I cannot talk because I'm so fired up, sorry. But instead of addressing these allegations, these parents of these accused kids have the audacity to file defamation suits against Heather, Aubrey's mom, and a judge has silenced her, meaning that a grieving mother can't even talk about her daughter's death. They put a gag order on it and made her take down her social medias. It's just hard to wrap my head around that, and it makes me wonder how the parents of 4 bullies could have so much pull. Well, I'll tell you how I think they do, because about 3 minutes of research will tell you that our old friend, Monty Noblet, also has his JD, which is a law degree, which he earned from the Mississippi College School of Law. Oh, and by the way, we're dealing also with a very small southern town with about 19,000 people, so you don't have to cast a very far net in order to call in favors. Not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying. So Heather's been trying to raise awareness about bullying. Heather, in fact, does not mention the kids by name at all, from my understanding. The only people who have mentioned these bullies' names by name are other students and other people posting about it. In fact, I know the girl that I was just talking about's name, and I chose not to say it because she's still a minor. And even though I think that she's an absolutely terrible human being, she's still a minor child. So I'm not going to say her name because that's not the right thing to do. And somebody in my comments, by the way, is saying that the main bully's aunt is a DA. Another thing, but Heather's been trying to raise awareness about bullying. These statistics are staggering, in case y'all don't know. 4,400 kids take their lives every year due to bullying, and about 160,000 kids supposedly skip school just to avoid their bullies. But now, because of lawsuits, Heather reportedly can't even discuss this. Well, guess who doesn't have a gag order against them? Me. And I will happily talk about this. Now, there's even a petition to remove Monty Noblet from his position. But given his alleged connections, who knows what will actually come of that? Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see what I have up on the screen. This came straight from basically the Department of Education's or Board of Education for that area's website. Okay, you can Google it. It's very, very public. If you happen to see certain 10 digits of numbers on there that you might want to dial and see where they lead, that's up to you. And I'm not saying to voice your opinions directly to Monty, but I can't stop you if you happen to see his publicly listed work number somewhere. But from where I'm standing, this situation raises a lot of questions about how we're protecting our kids. And I say that because we look at this situation where this mom did everything correct. It sounds like she was made aware of what was going on with Aubrey. It sounds like she reported it to everybody she could, the educators, the staff, assistant principal, and even all the way up to the school board, and nothing was done to protect this child, and now this child is gone. And these 4 bullies get to go about, live their life, continue to talk trash about this child, while Aubrey's family, while Heather and her other kids suffer the tremendous loss of this kid. And you look at the other stories that I've talked about, from Dax Vestal, who was bullied by his para on the bus, to the kid that got beaten with a tumbler on the bus, and the one that got beaten with a tumbler in the cafeteria, and the teachers that chained the autistic kids to desks in Florida. And we can give so many other countless examples of this. And the schools do nothing to help these kids. There's supposedly a zero tolerance policy. And if Aubrey had tried to defend herself or fought back, she would have been the one in trouble. And for a lot of people I've seen in the comments on the videos and stuff that we've talked about, well, why did she switch schools? You're talking about not everybody has that luxury or that option. That is a privilege to be able to do that. When you're talking about a town of 19,000 people total, you're probably very limited in your options for schools. But it makes me wonder, again, as somebody who's been through bullying, I can't help but wonder how many other Aubreys are out there that are suffering in silence, or even suffering in not so much silence, and the school is doing nothing to protect them. Now, this story is far from over, and I'll be keeping a very close watch on this one, because if the allegations are true, which I believe they are, Aubrey and her family deserve justice, which is going to be very difficult for them to get. A massive uphill battle in what appears to be just a small, corrupt southern town. And this is coming from somebody who's grown up in the South their entire life, and I am very aware of what happens We're with favors and the good old boy system in these small southern towns. And if you are from the South as well, you know this as well. But more than that, we need to be having some serious conversations as parents and as educators on how we're addressing bullying in our schools. I need y'all to be fired up about this. I need y'all to be angry about this. I need y'all to demand answers. This one's important. So important. So I'm going to calm down for a minute and digress, and we'll take Monty down and talk about this. It's bad, and there are programs out there. And here's what I'm gonna tell you that y'all should do. If you are a parent right now of a child who is in school, K through 12, whether they're being bullied or not, because it's more than just the kids who are being bullied, and it's more than just the kids who are doing the bullying. Because what you can see from this situation, at least from where I sit, is that the parents of these bullies are absolutely part of the problem, and we understand where these kids get it from, because bullying is a learned trait. Kids don't come out inherently mean. And you can look at any comment section on any social media, on any video, and you can see how adults bully each other. And this is what kids are taught. And oftentimes it's said that a child's first bully is their parent or parents. And that is something that we need to change. Desperately need to change. But there is a program, and I want every parent to take note of this. Every parent, every grandparent, if you are a teacher, take note of what I'm about to tell you. Okay? There is a program. I actually did this interview on here. You can go watch it either through my podcast, 50 Words for Murder, or you can watch it here on YouTube. I think it's another podcast section as well. But I did an interview on here with a woman by the name of Christy Krings. And Christy is the CEO of an organization called Rachel's Challenge. Now, Rachel's Challenge was born out of Columbine, for those of y'all who are old enough to remember the Columbine massacre. And it's designed to help end bullying and help end school violence in that sort of way. And it's a very effective program. And all you have to do to try to get it into your school is to reach out to them. That is all you have to do. That is all you have to do. So please, rachelschallenge.org, reach out, get your school system to get them in, because you don't know who can save them. The other thing I want to say, if you have a kid that's neither the bully or the person getting bullied, teach those kids, teach your children to stand up for those they see getting bullied, because sometimes other people need to point out this type of behavior and make them feel bad. So if you have a kid who's just like whatever, let them be the person, the good guy, good girl, whatever, who stands up for these kids. Okay? Let them stand up. Teach them, because that's the right thing to do. Somebody's saying the next court date for this is Thursday, the 18th. So we will be keeping up on that. So real quick before we get into the next two stories, which are going to be about Mica Miller or Solid Rock and Gypsy Rose, I want to take a quick moment here and be appreciative of those of y'all. I'm going to give a little quick pause for this. This not the real tea. Hey, reality. Thank you for that. No gag order here. I just found my story for tomorrow. Thank you, Justin, for bringing this. It's so enraging. So thank you so much, Krista, for covering this. Definitely drop where people can see it for sure. Amazing. And thank you for the super chat. And then also we have a new member of the channel. So again, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And you guys are awesome. I appreciate y'all supporting the channel. And yeah, y'all are just amazing. Thank you for supporting the content. Again, if you can't financially support, totally okay. Please at least hit that, subscribe button, follow button, whatever. It does me a huge solid. Now, with that said, let's get into the Solid Rock situation, because here's the thing about Mica Miller, guys. There isn't a lot of updates on Mica herself. There's the shenanigans of Solid Rock and protesters and things surrounding JP and the church and legalities. And that's what we're going to give you. So let's start with not last Sunday, but the Sunday before that, I'm going to call it the Sprinkler Showdown. Now, The image that you see beside me is the mugshot of 67-year-old Solid Rock Church member Robert Lachel, whatever, doesn't matter. He decided he had had enough of the protesters outside a couple Sundays ago. And so what does he do? Grabs a pressurized sprinkler and starts hosing them down, which is super mature of him. So now because of that, he's facing 5 misdemeanor assault charges, each one carrying a potential $1,087 fine. So you're talking about, almost $5,500 if he's nailed on all counts, plus court costs or whatever. Pretty expensive way to water the sidewalk, in my opinion, but hey, you do you. Now, what you're looking at in the picture right here is the mugshot from him. And again, if you are on TikTok watching right now, you're like, I don't see anything. It's because they're on YouTube. You can listen here, but you have to see the visuals on YouTube. Sorry, I can't help that. That's just the way TikTok has it set up. But that being said, when Robert was questioned by police, you know what his excuse was? Do you know who he put the blame on? His wife. That's right. The 67-year-old blamed it on his wife's frustration. But here's where it gets interesting. The lawyer representing Robert Lachel is also the lawyer representing Pastor John Paul Miller. Small world. It is also Myrtle Beach. So Myrtle Beach is not very big. It seems very big because of the tourist side, but when you look at the actual populace that lives there, it's not very big. And speaking of the church, though, Solid Rock has a very large portfolio. In case y'all don't remember, it's $5.59 million in property. They just bought a Cessna plane worth $400,000 right after Mica's death. And on top of that, the pastor's house is also under Solid Rock. But here's something fun that I want to show you. And I can't take credit for this. But if you can see, let me make me smaller and you bigger, because this is not, I don't say it's fun, but I find it very interesting. So what are you looking at here on the screen? Well, I gotta hand it to Robbie Harvey for this one, because I did not find this. He did. But this is off of Solid Rock's website. It's under their terms and conditions. And I will tell you, it does raise some serious eyebrows. They got this warning that linked sites might contain explicit material unsuitable for minors. For a church website. I mean, what kind of links are they sharing? It goes on about not violating community standards and being of legal adult age, but since when does a church need an age verification? Now, I'm going to just go on and be devil's advocate against myself. I find it very strange, but it could also be a generic terms and conditions they just copied from somewhere else, and they just copied and pasted it onto their website and didn't realize that. But then what website are you getting it from? What website are you getting this from? That you're copying and pasting it that talks about having explicit materials and links. Just saying. Kind of weird. Meanwhile, the church is keeping quiet about everything else, hiding behind lawyers. As we all know, Pastor JP was removed from his job as a pastor, but he is talking about in videos running some mission in Kenya. I believe it's the Dare to Care mission, the same one that was advertised in Mica's obituary, the same one that was very important to Mica, and the same one that supposedly the FBI is investigating. So make of that what you will. But now on top of that, there is also talk of a wrongful death suit that was hinted on by Mica's family's attorney. Plus, as we know, the FBI is involved. So this is no longer just local drama. This stuff is getting real big, really fast. Now, as far as our protester spray, our sprinkler showdown, any person, he's due in court on August 14th. Now, he is still able to go to church, but he's been told to stay off social media. Now, as far as the protesters go, which, by the way, this last Sunday, they put up barricades for the protesters, so they were limited where they could be. But the protesters aren't going anywhere. One of them even said that she will be out there every Sunday until there's justice for Mica. So we got a church under fire, a pastor who's not really working right now, protesters getting sprayed down, feds sniffing around, and a church website that reads more like an adult content warning. It's like a small town soap opera, but there's going to be real consequences that come from this. And as y'all know, this story is far from over. Every Sunday brings us something new. Are we ever going to get the full story? Who knows? But between the weird website stuff and everything else going on, it seems that there might be more than meets the eye. But you can bet I'll keep keeping a close eye on everything with Mica, with JP, with the church. And something tells me we're just scratching the surface on everything that's going on here. So now let's talk about the things that y'all really want to talk about. I mean, I know y'all want to talk about all these things. But before I do, real quick, I just saw we got another super sticker. So let me real quick. Thank you, Janelle. I appreciate that. Appreciate you the support. We got to make sure that we do that. Give y'all a round of applause for that. Take a moment. Thank you so much. Let's talk about Gypsy Rose. Okay, because this was unexpected. I was planning this show today, and I had a couple other stories I was going to put on there. And then this popped up, and I was like, well, this is big. Now, typically speaking, I'm going to be very transparent with y'all. I am not a Gypsy Rose fan. All right. If you've been in my lives on TikTok, you've heard me talk about Gypsy Rose. So basically with Gypsy Rose, I recognize the fact that she is a victim. Very much so. What she had to endure as a child is unforgivable. Nobody should ever have to go through that. Okay. At the same time, she and Nick did not have to take the path that they chose and take Dee Dee's life. When Nick showed up, she could have left. She was an adult at that point. There was nothing that Dee Dee could have done to bring her back if she didn't want to go. I think that there were options there. Now, I'm not in that situation. It's very easy to say things with the gift of hindsight and the gift of not being in that situation. I recognize that, but I'm just saying I believe that there were more options that didn't involve taking a life. But all of that said, that's not what y'all want to hear about. You want to hear about the fact that apparently she is pregnant. She's got a bun in the oven. It is confirmed. She confirmed it herself on her Instagram, her TikTok, and her YouTube. It's been confirmed by TMZ, People Magazine, and a myriad of other publications. Initially, she dropped the bombshell on YouTube. Now, I want y'all to bear in mind that we are just 7 months after getting out of prison here. I mean, I feel like it seems like it was longer, but it has been 7 months. And she's having the baby with her boyfriend, Ken Urker. In case you don't recall, Ken is the ex-fiance that she dumped while she was still in lockup. They met as pen pals, supposedly in 2015. Ken and her started exchanging letters. In 2018, he proposed to her. She, I guess, said yes, but sometime between 2018 and her release, the story said several years prior, that relationship ended. But let's also back up another second. Gypsy was married to Ryan Anderson when she first got out, and that whole thing went south faster than you can even say the word divorce. They split, they're still split, and it was announced on Gypsy's Facebook on March 28th, meaning that they probably actually broke up before that and made the announcement after. Anyways, suddenly Ken's back in the picture, and Gypsy's stepmom is taking credit for that hookup, by the way. Now, here's where it gets a little bit messier. Before this baby news, Gypsy had a pregnancy scare with Ryan, and she's spilling all this tea in her new show, Life After Lockup, which I haven't seen, but I've heard a lot about. And apparently on that show, she pops a plan B because she doesn't want Ryan's baby. Again, she's only been out of prison for 7 months now, so this wasn't that long ago. Gypsy says that this pregnancy wasn't planned, but she and Ken are stoked to be parents. She's also swearing up and down that she's not going to pull any of that Munchausen stuff that her mom did. No fake illnesses for this kid. A couple things I want to say about this. So a lot of people don't agree with Gypsy's decision. I don't believe at this point they are. I know that they're legally separated, her and Ryan, but I don't believe that they are legally divorced. Now, coming from the household that I grew up in, once you're separated, the marriage is over. Do what you want. In fact, you're an adult. Do what you want to do anyways. That's just how it's going to be. You know, when you're somebody like Gypsy Rose, the court of public opinion is going to judge you regardless. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. But it's one of those things where, you know, it's moved a little bit quick, I would say, but, you know, good on her. She swears up and down that Ken is the dad. I mean, she would have gotten pregnant in April. This would have been after she had separated because this baby is due January of 2025. She says that she's 11 weeks in. The other thing I want to talk about is with Gypsy, the fact that she's saying that she's not going to pull any of the Munchausen stuff with her mom. And I believe that. I want to believe that. I truly hope that Gypsy is one of those that ends a cycle of abuse, because what we've learned from her case is that Dee Dee went through some similar abuse or some type of abuse, and then Munchausen by proxy on Gypsy. And so what Gypsy knows, and I talked about this on live on TikTok earlier, what Gypsy knows is a life where she was treated like an invalid, like a baby most of her life. Then from there, she goes to prison. And now she's been out for 7 months. And in those 7 months, she's become a little bit of an internet sensation. She does not know what a normal adult life is. Mentally, she's probably still that at best of a teenager. To me, this very, very much feels like teen pregnancy. I mean, it does. It totally gives teen pregnancy. Obviously, she's not a teen. But I do hope that she's a cycle breaker. I really do, for the kids' sake. But you got to wonder, when it's time to have the conversation about what happened to grandma, that's going to be one hell of a conversation. But regardless, there you have it. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, from convict to mom to be in less than a year. We'll be keeping an eye on this story as it develops. Something tells me there's going to be a lot of drama surrounding this pregnancy. I hope I'm wrong. Because frankly, I don't love giving her the attention, but I mean, I know that y'all want to hear it, so here we are. But I think we have a lot more to talk about and a lot more to come with this. That's what I got today for you guys. I mean, it's kind of a short show. If you're watching on TikTok, you came into YouTube later. Oh, we got a couple more things we gotta thank people for. We have a reality. Reality had something on here. Let me take this down real quick so we can talk about this. Looks like theirs. So first of all, thank you for the $20, almost $20 super chat. Appreciate you. A therapist should have STR only recommend Gypsy, not yeah, I strongly recommended. There we go. Okay, a therapist should have strongly recommended Gypsy not procreate. I'm sorry, she is DD 2.0. There is much wrong with this 3-ring circus she created, and how dare any man ever get her pregnant? It's a joke. So let's talk about that real quick, because I think that adds some stuff to the fire. I think that they bring up some interesting points, because she didn't want to get pregnant with Ryan, but she gets pregnant with Ken. And a lot of people, because I did see this in my comments earlier on TikTok, are putting all the blame on Gypsy. I just want to remind people that it takes 2 people to get pregnant. Okay. So Ken is part of that as well. The other thing about this is, like I said, I'm not a fan of Gypsy. I grew up in a very narcissistic household with a very manipulative mom. She was able to get a lot of what she wanted. And here's what I'm going to say about myself, is being very transparent and open with you. And I'll say the same thing about Gypsy. You don't grow up in a household with people like that, with people like my mom or people like Dee Dee, without picking up a few tricks. It depends on how you want to use them. I try to use my talents, if you will, for good. If I'm going car shopping or trying to negotiate, that's when I try to use my talents. But nothing for bad. My mom used them for bad, and I swore I wasn't going to do that. Gypsy, I feel, only knows how to be manipulative. And I mean that again in a nice way, in the nicest way I can say, because it's not her fault, but she can choose to break that cycle if she wants to. So that's where that is. And then Janelle, wait, you did not have to do it twice, but thank you for becoming a 2-month member. Appreciate that. You are the best. Thank you, Nella. And yeah, that's what we got for today. That's what we got for today. You know? Anyways, we'll be back tomorrow. There will be a lot of updates. Make sure, I'm going to try to do this every day at 3:30 Central Time. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button again, so that you don't miss any of this, because I think it's important. Hit that subscribe button. If you're following me on TikTok, watching this on TikTok right now, consider hopping over to YouTube at some point to watch. Don't forget to pick up the books. Thank you guys for your support and listening today. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.